Hey everybody, welcome back to Ogre Speed Shop. So, went to the car show yesterday, and I'm sitting there like for 8 hours, and there's a glare, for like 8 hours, just staring at the car, sitting in the back, staring at it. I kept looking at that door down there. So you can see up here how the lines line up good there. I already been playing around with it a little bit, but if you look right here, this part of the door is actually inside. But down here is outside, so it all needs to be bent in a little bit. So I'm gonna play around with that for a little bit and just see if I can get to straight. It's pretty amazing all the things you see when you're just sitting there looking at your car all day. But there's a bunch of things I'm gonna start working on again and getting this thing basically ready for body work. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So I know it's a very minimal change, but we got that section right there. So from here up to here, let me move back a little bit. So this area here is pretty good. That area is really right there is pretty good, and down to about here. Now the rest of it, the bottom half of the door seems to be twisted. So if you look here, it lines up with the rocker until you get to about midway right here, and all of a sudden it just twists out. So I gotta figure out why. So the door back here is level with the quarter. That line's close to being on, but this middle mark is off. So I don't know if that could be the fender though. So yeah, I gotta play around with this a little bit, see if there's something, way I gotta twist this or bend it or do something. But yeah, we definitely got some work to do. Getting closer. So I think one of the first things I need to do to help get this door dialed in is I gotta close up that gap a little bit, which means I gotta loosen up the hinges up front here. And it's a lot easier to remove the quarter or the fender to do it, but I don't want to because the hood's on, the fender's all bolted in. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in through here, and you can see and get to the bolts here. I'm just gonna use my really low profile wrench here to use that to loosen up the bolts. So that way I can slide it back. And I don't know, because as far as the twist goes on this thing, I don't think adjusting the hinges on the door and twisting it this way is gonna do any good because it lines up in the front all the way back to about midway here. So I don't think that's gonna be what we need to do for this corner down here. I think the door is twisted. And so we got to work on that. But first I want to close this gap. Get this gap closed up and we'll go from there. I don't know how much this you'll actually get to see me do, but try to get you to see something maybe. Oh, those are tight. Ah, damn it. Let me try with the regular ratchet. Yeah. Alright, so we'll get this one on it. Obviously this one's got the leverage to it. So let me try a good old fashioned trick with this one. More leverage. So to get a little more leverage, just use a socket with an extension. Stick it over the handle. And hopefully that'll be good enough to loosen these ones up. There's the leverage I needed. Just gotta make sure you hold on to. So the other trick you gotta think about on this is obviously when you loosen those, it's gonna drop everything down. So you leave them somewhat tight so it can slide still. but not so loose that it's just all gonna drop. Right now, I don't think I have it loose enough. So we're gonna try prying it with a plastic pry bar up here in the front. See if we can get it to move it all. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's loose enough. I got all the bolts are loose, so now I just gotta get them to where they're loose enough. Can't believe I haven't dropped it all. It's crazy. Now it's moving. There we go. All right, now you got a little better gap there. Still a huge gap back here. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so I got 3 projects going on right now. And video started for all of them, and parts waiting on all of them. So waiting on the parts for this, waiting on the evap core for that, for the Camaro. So we're gonna get back on the Firebird and get this door so it's back to being where it closes nicely. Now it doesn't close because I got it down too far. So hood's coming off, fender's coming off, and we're gonna adjust it properly. So that's what we're doing next. All right, let's get this hood and fender off so we can adjust this door properly, because we can get to the actual bolts this way. All right, got the fender, the hood off. So now we can get to the bolts properly for adjusting the door. And it'll be a lot easier this way. And just in case you're wondering what it takes to take a fender off of these things, it's all this hardware. So I had to take this off because I got the ratchet stuck between the hinge right here and the bolt that goes to the back of the firewall right there. So yeah. Otherwise the hinge will still be on the fender, but I got the fender and the hood over here now. Now I can get to the bolts to adjust the door properly. And my jack decided to start leaking after 10 years, which is pretty good. I can live with that. But now we can adjust properly. So let's get to that.
All right, so we're gonna start playing around getting these hinges loosened up. And I'm gonna use these plastic pry bars to wedge it under the door to lift it up, so we don't want it sitting down on the rocker down here. And I always use my little impact down here because it doesn't over torque them, but it torques them enough to where it tightens it down. And then we're going to try to slide it back to where our depth back here gets minimized a little bit. So it's a little big right now. The other thing we got to worry about is tipping it up enough to where that side stays up, because before, like right now, shows up, it drops down probably about 3/4 of an inch, at least the width of my finger. So we need to get this to where when we close it, it closes the way it did before I started messing around with this. But let's get this thing loosened up to where we can actually maneuver it, play with it, and get the right size socket. Found it. I forgot that I took it. I had to tighten some bolts over here that I didn't tighten down when I put the car together originally. Alright, so the bolts that are on the body, on this part of the hinge, those allow you to move it side or front to back and up and down and tilt it a little bit. Whereas the ones on the door, they allow it to
twist and turn this way. So we're gonna actually work on that. I'm gonna try loosening the top of these and twisting this out. See if we can fix this gap down here where it's sticking out. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but first things first, we gotta get this thing level before I worry about that. We're dropping down quite a bit. Let's see if we can slide the back. Kind of like that gap a little bit right there. A little bit better. Try to keep it as close to the car as possible. So I know where we're at for level. I'm going to go a little bit above it before I tighten it down. So at this point, I've been working on this for at least half an hour, maybe more. And I got it to where I want it to be, the gap in the back. And you'll see that here in a second. But I had like 25 minutes of footage. I'm not going to put you through that because it's me loosening, tightening, banging, pulling, pushing. So, but let's get into the rest of the video. All right, so I got the gap to the door back here where I want it. I tried twisting it down and it went a little bit just by loosening this up on this side of the hinge, but it didn't do much. So I still need to, I think the door's just tweaked and I need to tweak it back. Because you see all the way up to right about there, this is flush with the rocker panel. So I think it just needs to be twisted a little bit and brought back in. But I like the gap now, so I'm going to stick with that and then start adjusting other things and twisting on things and tapping on this to bring it out a little bit, tapping on that to bring it in a little bit. But yeah, fun times. So I've still been trying to work on this twist here, trying to get this door to come around, but I've been messing around with the upper hinge here, trying to get it to twist, and it just won't. But be mindful, when you're using the original hardware, don't over torque stuff, because you end up breaking it. But luckily I have my my bolt kit from, what's the name of that company? Yeah, my master body kit from AMK Products. That I haven't used the hinge bolts yet because I tried to use as much of the original hardware as I could. And this is one of the, some of the hardware that was the original. So, but now I got an extra bolt here, which is lucky for me. And got to get that in there now. Why is that not going in straight? But anyways, I'll be back when I get that in. All right, so far this is kind of the method I've used. I used a strap against the suspension over there to, like it popped off on me a minute ago. The 2x4 in the door and using a mallet to kind of bring it in a little bit more, rubber mallet. And now we've got to the point where it's a little closer. So it's definitely coming in now. Definitely some other work I gotta do to it to make it come out, but this needs to go in right there in that area. But down at the bottom here is coming in closer. And all along the bottom there, it still needs to roll in a little bit, so. Still some work to do, but it is getting closer. So for everybody that suggested 2x4 and brute force, that's pretty much what I'm doing. So that's where we're at now, getting a lot closer. So I want to show exactly how I was able to move that in. I'm still got to move it a little bit more. So that's why I'm going to do it again here. So I want to show everybody how I'm doing it. So I got a block of wood up in here. Got the strap going on top of the door. This door's got real thick area up here. So I'm not too worried about bending it. Even if I do, it should be easy enough to repair. And it hasn't bent yet, so I've been putting a lot of pressure on it. I put some rubber underneath the ratchet here because it was kind of making some marks in the door. You know, again, it's going to be fixed with body work when I'm get to that point. But I just want to get this, the bottom side here, pulled into where it matches with the quarter panel. So that's what I'm showing right now. So we're gonna set you up here so you can see, and we're gonna wrench on that and ratchet it down and see what happens. So watch how much this thing moves when I start ratcheting it down. This is what we want to see move, this bottom area here. We want to bring it in as far as we can, without really bringing the top in. So that's why we got the block of wood in there. See, it is pulling, you know, denting the door a little bit up here, but just said that'll be easier to fix. Just want to try to get as much pressure on there as possible. And then I kind of want to tap on it a little bit just to kind of keep the pressure there, because it's going to spring back, obviously. But it's going to take some more finish work as well as far as the metal work goes, but just try to get it pulled in to where it stays and we get that twist out of the door. All right, now let's release it and see what happens. A couple scratches there, but nothing big dented wise. All right, so we got that out of there now. Let's see what happens when we close it. Look at that. So we're definitely getting closer. Now we got to work this area here to match. I also want to check to see if maybe when I put this quarter panel on, if this didn't get brought in a little bit, because it seems like it's caved in a little bit here. But again, I just want to show how that works. And so we're good up here still, all the way down. Got a little gap here, but down at the bottom now, we're starting to get more flush. So I think the rest is just going to be some basic body work and or some metal work and hammering and dollying, and we can get that thing to pull in. So just wanted to show you how I did it and how it's so much closer than it was before. And still need a little bit of work there, but we're definitely all right. I've got this thing pretty much dialed in now. As far as bringing the bottom in, I just use a good old hammer to bring it down to where it's flush with the rocker, and the rest of it will come out with sanding and body work. But at least there's not a big, huge freaking 3/4 inch gap down here anymore. Still a little bit more to go as far as bringing this area right here in, but it's definitely not a big gap anymore. And I'm happy with that. So now we can move on to the body work in the future. I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon, but that was really bothering me at the car show the other day. So I'm happy that it's not such a huge gap anymore. Probably have to do a little bit on the driver's side too, but this one was really bad. I mean, it's like you could stand, when I was sitting out back of the car here during most of the show, that thing just stood out like a sore thumb, and I wasn't happy with it. So I wanted to at least get that corrected. You know, a lot closer than what it was. Still some fine tuning to do on it, but other than that, I'm happy with it. It's a lot better than it was. So now I can put the fender back on, get the hood back on, and apparently tomorrow, this is Saturday the 5th, something like that. And tomorrow is supposed to be National Drive, or National Cruise Day or something, or you should take your cars out and cruise. So, you know, I got a few hours here in the evening, put the fender back on, get the hood back on, and gotta take it for a drive tomorrow. All right, we got the fender back on now. Last thing we gotta do is get the hood on. So I'm gonna speed that up so you can watch me struggle in high speed, putting this hood on by myself. All right, we got the hood back on. It's not perfect. Then nothing is on this right now because I haven't got to the point where I'm doing final adjustments on it. This hood's never really sat down properly. I gotta figure out why it does that. Still hits the rubber up here and tucks it in, but that's because the rubber's worn out and, you know, not really pliable anymore. But gotta do some gap work on it, but other than that, it's on there. I can drive it now. And I tell you what, I'm not as young as I used to be, because I used to be able to take that hood and time where I could take the hood and actually hold it that this way and put it on the hinges, but I couldn't do that. My freaking left arm is too screwed up anymore. But I ended up going around to the back of it and it worked out pretty good. So got it on there. She's back to driving condition again. And, you know, don't judge me on the alignments of stuff because it's not done yet. but it's where we're at. And I'm happy now because that gap is gone for the door, which is what this whole point of this video was to lose that gap and close up the gap in the back as well. So we're in a good spot now. I'm happy about it. All right, that'll conclude this video on getting that door gap fixed and closed up, so I can sit at a car show now and not sit there and stare at it all day, wondering what the heck can I do to fix that. It's fixed now. So if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like down there. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I can do better. Keep it positive at least. I understand it's rough, but that's where my car's at right now. Someday I'll get to the body work. But and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. There's gonna be more coming up. Got some work to do on the Camaro. Got to fix this heater here. But other than that, until next time, I will see y'all later.